All right, fellas, welcome back. We're live at the Prism Way Studios,
Yeah.
the Hope and 12 podcast right here in downtown Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
I got my brothers right here with me, three experts in CGA. They live and breathe it on the inside, and they live and breathe it now. My name is Raymond Shepard, served 23 years on the life sentence. I'm going to go ahead and give it to my brother here. Who are you?
Okay. My name Boanergez, and I served 13 years on the 35 to life. Co-facilitator right here at the Prison Way for the CGA.
My name's Frank. I did 19 years out of 40 years to life. Just co-facilitator here at CGA.
And a good one.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Bobby Kimbrough. I've served 25 and a half years in prison, caught up in my cycle of addiction. I'm a facilitator here at the Prism Way, CGA.
Let's get it.
That's right. As you can see, we got a lot of lived experience in this room, both on the inside and the out now. You know what I mean? We're living this freedom now, and now we have a new set of challenges. But today we're going to be getting into step 6. Bob, can you introduce that for us?
Step 6 is made a personal commitment to abandon our defects of character and to practice reasonable, decent conduct through our daily actions and behavior.
That's off the top of the
Okay,
dome.
man.
Off the top of the dome,
Off
man.
the top of the dome with his podcast voice, too.
You could call him on any. You
Straight
could
up.
call any one of these guys on the spot, and they'll hit you exactly that step is. So what does that step mean? What does that mean to you,
So
Bob?
for me, right, the step means to let go of all that stuff you've been doing. But no, it means you making a personal commitment, just like me. Every day I make a personal commitment. Every day I get up to be better than I was yesterday. So with that step, it's like making that personal commitment to yourself to abandon your defects of character. And it's just a flaw to your character. So with step 4 helped you admit to God, to ourselves, and another human being in step 5. Step 5 is letting step 6 know that a lot of that stuff that we did was based off the defects to our character. So in asking God, in being vulnerable to somebody that we trust, and admitting to ourselves these flaws and our wrongs, I don't want to feel that guilt no more. And I really had to understand, where did all this come from? And a major contributing factor were the defects to my character. So, and I wasn't able to live decent or responsible. So in step 6, wanting to do better and wanting to be better, I'm going to make this personal commitment to myself to abandon what caused me to act out in the devil's manner, if I should say. And with abandoning these defects of character, I'm allowing myself to be my best self that God created me to be, and to every day practice reasonable, decent conduct.
That's right. And so for the audience that don't understand what character defects are, like you said, they're character flaws, but like some examples of like low self-esteem, irritability, aggressive, violent,
dishonesty.
being an addict, liar.
Violent.
These are all character defects for those people that don't understand, and they're different for everybody. You know, that's important to understand what your character defects are, right?
Sure.
A lot of people don't understand this, but character defects fuel the mindset, right? So when you have a negative mindset and you got those character flaws, they fuel the mentality, which therefore fuels the behavior, you know? So that's why this step's real important. But Nara, so how did you work this step inside when you're incarcerated?
Man, just just really just being in the CGA class and basically being present, really paying attention, really understanding, really applying the steps from 1 to 5 and getting to the place where I'm at step 6. When I first came into prison, I was what they call chrono chasing. I just wanted to build a portfolio of like chronos, and me leaving a trail of doing all these classes. But it really just became me just gaining a piece of paper and not really gaining any understanding on or any insight on my character defects and my flaws. So when I took the class the second time, I really began to like really understand that you know, these character defects that I developed came from a lot of my trauma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to really revisit those events and those moments in my life where I felt like I needed to be violent, or I developed fear, or feeling like you know um less than, or inadequate, feeling worthless. All these things I was feeling, I'm like, man, um applying this step really gave me the insight to understand that uh I didn't have um these character defects, when I was born.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't.
weren't born with them.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? These things I was developed with,
Right.
through unaddressed trauma.
Life experiences.
Exactly. And I
You know.
seen it as like me just trying to protect myself, you know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I used, these character defects was developed in order to protect myself, or either I was gonna keep running.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
some of them are coping skills, negative
Yeah,
coping skills. You know, some of
straight
these
up.
character defects.
Yeah. So, being asked those tough questions in class in front of everybody, that's in the process of changing. That was tough, man, to really being able to be vulnerable around men that I just met. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And some individuals I knew in there, but most of the individuals I really didn't know, because he's like, and that's what kept me from really applying this step inside, because I didn't want to. I wasn't at that place. I want to be vulnerable enough around individuals and really share, what was behind the mask. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
I remember being asked a question where it was like, when was, the first time you felt like you was scared? You know what I mean? And I was like, man, when I had my first fight. You know what I mean? Uh, I felt like I had to be violent so I can show others that, I wasn't scared, but behind that mask I was. And, being able to let dudes inside, in my class, and letting them know, like, bro, I'm really, all my fights came because I was scared. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And everybody was looking at me like, I can't believe you just said that. You know what I'm saying? But really, the thing is that, what I mean, um, we either scared of the fight, or we scared of how we gonna look
Right.
if we don't fight. So it's like, that fear plays a big part. And that was part of my character defect right there. And I had to understand that, what I mean, applying this step showed me that how to address that, and then move forward with saying I'm okay with being who I am today. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
being Boanergez, and not, what I mean, and actually understanding that there's strength in having self control and being able to say, no, I don't need to, you know, uh, resolve conflict with violence, but we can talk this thing out, or I could just simply walk away. You know what I'm saying? So these are my new coping skills that I use, and I was able to use that and apply that in prison, which was super hard. You know what I mean? So now, it developed me to be able to use it out here, and it's been working for me.
Right. Speaking of out here, Frank, how do you work this step out here now that you're free?
For me, is understanding like the root cause, pretty much, of what led to my defect of character, which is going back to with all the other steps, right? So understanding the trauma, and then the things that I've done that impacted people, and just looking back into my life and reflecting, like, where did it all come from? Where did it start? And how did it lead to that, right? Kind of what Bonaires was talking about, that fear, and then these belief systems as criminal and gang members, and then it leads to becoming violent. And so
Yep.
that's like a script we give ourselves. So
Right.
now when something happens, this is how I respond every time,
Yeah.
and then we get stuck in that cycle and end up with those same consequences every time, because we continue to respond to these events in that way. And then once you start doing the work, you start identifying these responses, and figuring out what are these feelings that I'm feeling, and how do I deal with it now today, right? And getting out, in different environments. Like I find myself code switching with people that I once knew, people that I'm growing with, that I've been in prison with, and things like that, and not slipping back into that character that I was before, and that old belief system, things like that, and finding that balance. Like, well, when this happens now, this is how I'm gonna respond to it. When I feel challenged, I'm gonna humble myself. I'm gonna walk away, or I'm gonna deal with it accordingly. And
Yeah.
understanding these defects is super important to not falling back into that cycle that we were once in.
Do you think that you've done the work on the inside of your home, right? Are any of these character defects popping up today?
For me, the thought is still there, the impulse is still there, but now I have coping tools, and I recognize it, right? So when they do surface, these feelings, this fear, the shame, I'm able to recognize it, and cope with it, and not let it lead into any kind of action. Like,
What about defects though? Like you're talking about the mindset, but what
yeah,
about like some other like what are name two of the character defects you used to have?
I was violent and I was callous.
So today do any of them pop up?
No, I don't exhibit them today. I don't. I've been working on that.
But do they like so you have control over them, but do they pop up?
Yes,
Right?
they do surface.
I
Yeah.
think it's important we point that out
Yeah.
because I still have them. I just know what to do with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I
Yeah.
said, we're not perfect. Just because we went through all those groups and found our freedom, we're far from perfect. All that stuff's still there, man. And like, it's
Yeah.
important. That's the struggle. It's keeping
Yeah.
them at bay. You know what I mean? That's why I asked you that question just because I want people to understand if they're going through it that they're not unique. You know, we're all. I would think.
Nah,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
you're
We all
definitely right.
go through it, right? You're still
You're
there,
right,
right?
man.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
And so for me, what helps me a lot is, right, when people are in certain situations that I see them, something happens, an altercation happens with them, and they react like in the best way possible, and I see that, and I'm like, man, if that would happen to me, would I be able to do that?
Yeah.
I'll go ask that person, hey, like, how did you deal with that right now when this just happened to you? This guy just, disrespected you, and they'll explain to me how they dealt with it, and then and then that gives me insight, like, wow, like, okay, so like something that may trigger me might not trigger him, or something that triggers him,
Right.
might, you know what I mean? So everyone has their buttons, right? And then
Mhm.
I try to get insight, like, man, how are we able to deal with that? So next time, if I'm in a similar situation, I'm a feed off what he was talking about and feed that information to myself. Like, look, this
Right.
person must be going through something. Empathize, use compassion,
Mhm.
whatever it is that he used. I'm gonna try to piggyback and try to like use it in my own way to
Mhm.
help me respond accordingly, right? And that's how I learn from other people.
Yeah. That's important, man. I always watch people and the way they respond.
yeah.
You know, sometimes they ask me like, "What would you do in this situation?" I say, "I don't know. I'll tell you when I cross that bridge. Can't tell you. I like to think I do the.
Like that.
I like to think I'm gonna do the right thing, but till I cross that bridge, I'll let you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've been challenged. Had multiple challenges since I've been out, where my old character flaws came up, and like sometimes I failed in thought, sometimes I failed in action. You know what I mean? But the most important part is learning from it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the one thing I do is I use step 10 just to make sure that, I'm like addressing it,
Nah, that stuff
inventory.
important, bro. That stuff important. Like, to have that awareness to know, like, look, bro, like, this is a process, a long life process that you're gonna have to battle with for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? Um, those character defects are always gonna be under there. You know what I'm saying? That old man always gonna be under there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always gonna rise. That's why we got triggers, because those old character defects arise when you get triggered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they start to remind you of how you used to react when those triggers come. But now we identify them when we understand our warning signs and we know all these things, right? That's why it's a beautiful thing to stay in the maintenance process
Right.
as well. You know what I'm saying? Because we in a progressive stage of being sanctified, which is set apart from our character defects, and we got to understand that they always gonna be there and they always gonna rise. I always have to battle with the fact that I once felt unvalued. I once felt worthless. So when people say things to me, or they treat me like I ain't nothing, you know what I'm saying? It triggers those old character defects and feelings, and it has me wanting to shut down, and you know what I'm saying, and now I struggle with like those negative thoughts of feeling like maybe they're right, you know what I'm saying, and we have to understand that you know, when those things do arise, because they will, those character defects will arise. How are we gonna react to them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And how are we gonna respond to them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's really, for me, my coping skill is, you know, positive thoughts. You know, just being basically using the the action of replacing those negative thoughts. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? With who God sees me today, and not how I felt like I seen myself back then, when people were saying that I was, when they treated me like I was worthless, and then my actions confirmed it, because, you know what I mean, I'm in prison and I'm being devalued, and now all my actions is showing that it's confirming that I was always a bad kid. Now it's confirming it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So now understanding, like, that's not who I am today. You feel
Yeah.
me?
Yes.
So they do arise.
Yeah, I think it's important, right? So like we touch on some of the stuff, like we touch on childhood trauma. We understand where our flaws come from, our character
Yeah.
defects come from, our mindset comes from, right? I think it's important to point out that when you look at when we started educating ourselves, we started learning about plasticity, right? And that which means that your brain, you could rewire your brain, basically, right? Just in simple terms,
Yeah.
we could take something that we feel is broken in us, work on it, exchange it for spiritual principles. You apply it enough, you practice it enough, you condition yourself enough, it becomes you. So I feel like I'm still debating whether just by living by walking the walk after prison and watching you guys, I'm still in debating with myself whether can we completely get rid of it. Time will tell, you know what I mean? Because according to science and psychology, I mean, you could rewire your brain on anything. So I'm interested to see down the years down the road, who knows, 10 years, whatever it is,
Yeah.
to see if any of this stuff literally disappears. Like it's not even me no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm real curious on that. And I think I just want to point that out just
It's,
to give people a little bit
tough.
of hope to say you're not broken, man.
Yeah.
It's a journey. If we work these steps, we stay in community, we're continuously taking inventories on ourselves and learning from it. I feel like eventually, hopefully, that stuff goes away. You know what I mean? I want to ask you, Bob. So, I mean, we pretty much touched on it already, but why is it important to keep working this step out here for you?
Because I'm one step away from relapsing as a criminal, as a gang member.
One bad choice, huh?
One bad choice away from going
Mm.
back to my old ways. And working a step out here in society is more important to me than it was in prison, because this field is like a field and it's like open. A lot of things in prison was controlled. I was in a controlled environment. Out here it ain't controlled. And I think that, man, that's the best thing that could have happened to me, for me to learn the steps while in prison, because I
Yeah.
Right.
came home with something to survive with, meaning to challenge these challenges, these conflicts, these things that go on every day in this world that isn't functioning right. But being that I would say like woke today, or now that I'm aware, I know better. So now my first go to isn't just violence. My first go to isn't just peer pressure. I'm a consequential thinker now. And
Mm.
just because I'm a consequential thinker, that don't mean everything gonna be good. Consequential thinking give me something better to cope with. So now I'm thinking about, why am I this way? It's because I got flaws. I'm allowing my flaws to be active in my life. I mean, my defects of character.
That's
So
right.
Yeah. Just real quick, like, that's a great point,
Yeah.
because he was speaking on being in a controlled environment, and then it's like it's only so much you can do. And another character defect is having not knowing what to do with the freedom that you have. You know what I'm saying? And we get to a point where it's like, okay, I only could do so much, so I'm, you know, I can control myself in these situations. But now that we have extra freedom and we have, you know, everything that we want in abundance, it's like, you know, we kind of get back to like uh just not having that self control anymore. You know what I'm saying? We kind of lose that, because it's like, well, you know, it ain't wrong for me or illegal for me to do these things now, because I'm out here. You know what I'm saying? And I got the freedom to do it, and being able to have that discipline. You know what I'm saying? And we lose that. sometimes. You know what I mean? Coming out here and we like, now I'm off parole. Now I'm off. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to be in a transitional home. I don't have to check in no more. And now, like, what do I do with this freedom now that I have? You know what I'm saying? Do I be irresponsible with it? You know what I'm saying? Because that was one of my character defects. Still is at times. You know what I mean? Being irresponsible. You feel me? So now I'm understanding, like, man, everything that we have now is critical, and we got to value it.
Mm-hmm. That's important. How many years you did,
13.
Frank?
19.
25.
I did 23 this time. So we understand the value of our freedom, right?
Straight up.
And like you were saying something earlier, the last episode before we were recording, you were saying, I work these steps because I'm trying to go home, right?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah,
that's the truth. We probably all started working these steps because we wanted to come home.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere along the way, we found genuine change, right?
Yeah.
But the other part I wanted to add to that, I still work these steps because I don't want to go back.
I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a punchline.
I don't want to go back. So we worked it because we want to come home. Now we're working it because we don't want to go back.
That's dope.
You know what I mean? And so, like,
you need to get that put on a shirt or something. You be having these quotes, man.
Yeah, we're gonna.
That's the diesel.
Stay tuned for the T-shirt line. I told you I was gonna make a T-shirt line.
Hey,
but yeah,
that's dope right there.
Yeah, so we're gonna make a CGA podcast. Hope at 12's T-shirts too. Stay tuned for our audience, right? That's real. We'll make some hoodies and some hats. But yeah,
Ray Shepherd merch.
Yeah, the diesel.
The diesel.
So like,
straight up.
Nah, I just want to close out by saying, it's always a pleasure to sit here with you guys because, like, a lot of times we're inside and we're having these conversations on the way to chow, in our cell with our cellies, on the way to college, in the weight pile, you name it, running laps. We're sitting there talking. What we lived and breathed this stuff trying to come home, and I used to say, man, we waste these conversations, and the only reason I say we wasted them was because more people need to hear them. So I'm I feel real blessed to have this platform to showcase, how you guys think today, and like that you guys are living examples of change, right? And I just want our audience to know we have a lot of brothers and sisters inside just like us, that don't have the chance to come home, and they deserve that chance.
Amen.
They did the work, you know what I mean?
And they still doing the work.
And still doing the work. So I just wanted to point that out. There's a lot more like us that can help change this community,
For sure.
But yeah, that's a wrap for this episode. We're right here at Prism Way Studios on Hope and 12 downtown, trying to give hope to the hopeless, working the 12 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to the next episode. Thank you, brothers, for being here.
Thank you, loved one. This is Frankie G.
Frank Tank.
Free at last.
Yeah.
Free at last. Frank
Appreciate
Garcia.
the community.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes.
Prism Way.